My name's Erica. If you asked me how I started, I'd say with nothing fancy, just a girl from a regular family, with parents who loved me more than anything. My life was pretty standard until I hit college, where I met Jack. He was in the same restaurateur program, and man, did we click. We were both dreamers, aiming to carve out a little empire of our own. Ever think about opening your own place, Erica? Jack asked one night as we were cramming for finals over cheap coffee and day-old donuts. All the time, I admitted, not taking my eyes off the business plan spread across the table. Imagine a cozy little spot, authentic Italian, the kind of place where everyone feels like family. Jack grinned, his eyes lighting up. We could do it, you know. Run it together. What's stopping us? Money, I sighed, a laugh escaping despite the truth of it. Loads and loads of money. But life has a funny way of turning dreams into reality. When my parents passed away suddenly, a brutal car crash that took them too soon, they left me their house and a tidy sum of $400,000. After the grief, the silence of the house was overwhelming. It was Jack who stepped up. Let's do it, Erica. Let's make your dream come true. For you, for them, he said one evening as we sat in the quiet living room, surrounded by memories. Are you sure? I asked, feeling the weight of the decision. It's a huge risk. Jack took my hands in his. I'm in if you're in, all the way. With that, we got married right after graduation and poured every dime and ounce of energy into our first restaurant. I designed the interiors myself, choosing warm yellows and reds, and we both developed the menu, testing recipes until midnight most days. The first few years were tough, no lie. There were nights I fell into bed with my shoes still on, too tired to move. But seeing our dream take shape, watching the 3 restaurants flourish under our care, made every aching muscle worth it. Mom, why are you always at the restaurant? My son, Danny, asked one day. He was about 7, his face serious as only a kid's can be. Because it's our family's place, sweetheart. We built it so we could have a good life, you know? I explained as I tied my apron, preparing for another long shift. But you're always working, he pouted, and it stung, because he was right. I know, kiddo. But I promise, we're doing this for us, for our future. One day, you'll see it was worth it, I said, kissing his forehead before rushing out the door, the bell jingling behind me. After years of what seemed like marital bliss and bustling restaurant nights, I started noticing the cracks. Jack and I weren't the dream team we used to be. He was pulling away, distant, like he was always somewhere else even when he was right there. It was a regular Tuesday evening, and I was doing the books in the office when Jack walked in, late again, his jacket slung carelessly over one shoulder. Jack, we need to talk about the Henderson event. They want to book the big room, and I can't make that call without you, I said, trying to catch his eye as he rifled through some mail. Yeah, sure, whatever you think is best, he muttered, not looking up. That was his new thing, agreeing without listening. It drove me nuts. Jack, I snapped, louder this time. This is important. Can you please focus? He finally looked at me, his eyes tired, or maybe just uninterested. Erica, I trust your judgment. Just handle it, okay? I've got a lot on my mind. That was another thing. What exactly was on his mind these days? I used to know every thought he had. Now? Not so much. One night, I just couldn't take the guessing games anymore. We were in bed, the only time we ever were in the same room it seemed, and I turned to him, my voice shaky but needing the truth. Jack, is there someone else? The words felt like broken glass coming out of my mouth. He was silent for a long moment, the kind of silence that tells you everything you don't want to hear. Yeah, there is, he said finally, his voice flat. No anger, no sorrow, just cold, hard fact. It just happened. We've changed. I've changed. You've changed. It's not just one thing. The next day was a blur. I moved through the motions at the restaurant, smiling at customers, checking on orders, all while feeling like I was outside my body, looking down at some stranger living my life. When I finally got home, Jack was there, sitting at the kitchen table with that look on his face, the one that used to mean he had something serious to say. "Erica, I think we should talk about what this means for us," he said, as I dropped my keys on the counter, not ready to sit, not ready to hear it. "What's there to talk about, Jack? You've made your choice," I said, my voice cold, steadier than I felt. "We should get a divorce. There's nothing left to salvage." He didn't argue with that. Maybe he wanted to, or maybe he was just as tired as I was. Tired of pretending, tired of hiding, tired of whatever we had become. The following weeks were a whirlwind of meetings with lawyers and dividing up the life we had built together. I kept the house and half of everything else. It was fair, I suppose, but it felt like paying a huge price for a life I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. That's the thing about building something with someone, it becomes so intertwined that tearing it apart leaves everything looking a bit frayed, a bit worn, a shadow of what it used to be. Starting over is like standing on a cliff edge, the fear of the drop, but also the thrill of the unknown. After Jack, I spent a lot of time figuring things out, getting the restaurants running smooth without him, and just being alone. It wasn't bad, not really. Gave me time to think, to breathe. But then, like a cliché in some corny romance novel, Tom walked into my life, a lawyer with a killer smile that probably won too many cases on charm alone. He came into the restaurant one busy Friday night, his little girl, Emily, in tow. They were hard to miss, she had the same bright laugh as her dad. "A glass of your house red for me, and a lemonade for the little miss," Tom smiled at me, not knowing I owned the place. I was filling in for the hostess that night, just trying to keep busy. Throughout the night, I kept catching glimpses of them from the corner of my eye, him explaining bits of the menu to her, her listening so intently like the world depended on it. It was adorable. Made me miss having that kind of simple interaction, which had become so rare in my life. As they were leaving, Tom stopped by the register where I was cashing out another customer. "Thanks for a wonderful dinner," he said. "The food was excellent, and so was the service." "Glad you enjoyed it," I replied, handing the receipt to the customer before turning to give Tom my full attention. "And your company seemed pretty top-notch too." That was the beginning of everything. Tom started coming around more often, sometimes with Emily, sometimes alone. We'd chat, casual at first, then deeper conversations as the weeks turned into months. He was different, thoughtful, and real. One evening, he closed his menu and leaned back in his chair, watching me as I wiped down the counter. "Erica, would you like to go out sometime? I mean, outside of this place?" I paused, cloth in hand, not sure if I was ready. "Like a date?" "Yeah, a date," he smiled, looking a bit nervous himself. As things started getting serious with Tom, I knew it was time for him to meet my boys, Danny and Sam. I won't lie, I was nervous about how they'd take to him. They'd had a rough time after their dad and I split up, and bringing someone new into our lives felt huge. One Saturday, I decided to throw a small barbecue at our place. Casual, no pressure. Tom came over with Emily, and right off, I could see the boys were sizing him up, a bit standoffish at first, which was expected. Tom, bless his heart, didn't push it. He tossed a football to Danny. "Hey champ, think you can teach me a few tricks?" Danny, a natural athlete, lit up at the chance to show off his skills. "Sure, but only if you can keep up," he shot back with a grin. Sam, quieter and more into his books, hung back a bit. Tom noticed and wandered over to him later with a comic book in hand. "Heard you're the expert on these. Think you could explain the multiverse theory to me?" "It's way over my head." Sam's eyes, usually glued to his tablet, looked up, surprised and a bit impressed. Sure, I can do that." Watching them talk, seeing Tom genuinely interested in what Sam had to say, it eased my heart. And Emily, she was a gem, trying to include Sam in the conversation, showing off her own collection of superhero stickers. Just when I thought I had left all the drama behind and could finally get some peace with Tom and the kids, my past came knocking, or rather, ringing, on my day off. I was in the middle of making lunch when my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in a while. It was Jack.